There you go. God is good.
神是良善的神，
He's really, really good.
他是真的真的好，
He's better than you think.
他比你想象中还要好。
So change the way you think.
所以要改变一下你的想法。
Amen?
阿门。
God is better than you think right now.
神比你现在想的还要好，
So you need to change the way you think.
所以你现在要改变你现在的想法。
God is good.
神是良善的神，
God's promises are good.
神的应许是好的，
Right? His
Amen.
promises are good.
神的应许是好的，
His promises are better than you think.
神的应许比你想象的还要好，
So change the way you think.
所以改变你现在的想法。
That's what we're doing right now.
我们现在要做的就是这件
We
事。
just started a series on the promises of God.
我们在讲神的应许，
And one of the things we want to do is we want to get a better view of God's promises for our lives.
其中就是我们要对神的应许有一个更不一样的看法。
It's so easy for us to not understand His promises.
我们不是一定很明白神的应许是什么，
Or we can live our lives without an understanding of the promises He's given to us.
我们有可能过着一个生活，但是不明白神给我们的应许是怎样
And
的，
we end up living powerless lives.
所以我们就有一个没有力量的生活。
God's promises are powerful.
神的应许是有能力的，
His promises will pull us into our destinies.
神的应许可以把我们拉进我们的命定，
That's how powerful they are.
就是这应许是这么有能力。
God has a special destiny for every one of you.
神为每一个人都有一个命定，
I'm going to say that again. God has a special destiny for every one of you.
神对你们每一个人都有一个奇妙的命定，
And God has made a way for us to come into His destiny for
而且
us.
神为我们预备了，让我们可以进入这个命定，
And that's through His promises.
这就是借着他的应许，
His promises will pull us into our destinies.
他的应许会把我们拉进我们的命定。
Amen?
阿门。
Okay, the last sermon, a couple of weeks ago,
2个礼拜以前，
I talked about how we often will get disappointed with other people when they break their promises to us.
我们聊到说，当别人没有守约的时候，我们是如何的会失望。
And when people break their promises to us, we stop trusting other people when they give their promises to us.
当人没有信守承诺的时候，我们也开始不再相信他们会信守他们的承诺，
We get disappointed.
我们就失望了。
Other people break their promises.
别人失信，
So I'm going to protect myself by not really believing your promise.
所以我就开始保护自己，不再开始相信他们的承
We
诺。
do this without even thinking.
我们连想都没有想，就这样子做了
And。like I also mentioned, we often do this with God.
所以我们也有可能对神这样做，
We begin to be disappointed with God.
我们会对神感到失望，
We stop trusting Him and His promises for our lives.
然后就开始没有再相信他的应许会成就。
How many of you have ever been disappointed when you felt like God didn't keep His promise to you?
有没有人当神好像没有成就他所应许的，你就对神有失望了？
You feel like He gave you a promise.
你认为他给了你一个应
Maybe a
许，
promise for healing
一个医治的应许，
or a promise for promotion
或是一个升官的应许，
or a promise that you were going to be starting a new ministry someday.
或是有一个新的服饰的应许，
Or maybe God gave you a promise that you would get married.
或者是以后得一个配偶的应
Maybe
许，
He gave you a promise that you were going to have children.
或是一个得儿女的应许，
And you haven't received those promises.
但是你还没有真的领受到
Have you ever
支
felt
取，
disappointed with God?
还没有支取到的时候，你是不是对神有失望？
Yeah. Most of us have.
我们应该都有这个经验，
We would never say that
但是我们不会说，
because that wouldn't be right to say it out loud.
因为说太大声不好。
But in our heart, we get a little disappointed with
但是
God.
我们心里面多少有些失望。
You believed God for something.
你相信神会成就某个应
He
许，
told you, you feel He told you He was going to do this thing,
你听到他对你说他会这样子做，
and it didn't happen.
但是并还没有
So
成就。
what was the problem?
问题在哪里？
These are tough questions.
这些都是很艰难的问
It's,
题。
it's a good thing we are not afraid of tough questions here.
但是我们这里是安全的地方，不怕问艰难的问题。
We can grow through tough questions.
我们可以借着艰难的问题成
But we're
长，
also very careful how we begin to answer tough questions.
但是我们要小心怎么样来回答这些
We
艰难的
don't
问
have
题。
freedom just to try and answer tough questions on our own.
我们不是用自己的想法来回答，
We need a starting place.
我们需要一个起点，
It makes a safe place for us answering these tough questions about God.
是一个安全的问题来回答这些艰难的问题。
And the starting place we need are the truths that we already know about God.
开始的地点就是我们对神所知道的真理。
We start answering every tough question by reminding ourselves of the things we already know about Him.
当我们来回答这些艰难的问题的时候，我们要提醒自己认识的真理。
So that's how we're going to answer this question also.
所以我们就要用这个方式来回答
Why
这个
does
问题。
why does it seem like God doesn't keep His promises to us?
为什么神好像没有信守他的应许？
We start with some truths.
我们要以真理开始。
God is good.
神是良善的神，
He's perfectly good.
他是完全的良
He's
善，
perfectly faithful.
他是完全的信
He
实的，
always keeps His
他
promises.
总是信守他的承诺，
He always keeps His promises.
他总是信守他的承诺。
That's the truth we start with
这
right
就是
there.
我们的真理的基石。
So the reason that you might not be receiving your promises is not because God is unfaithful,
所以你的应许还没有成就，不是他不信实，
because we know He's faithful.
因为我们知道神是信实的，
But we need to put another truth down.
所以我们需要放另外一个真理的基石。
God is powerful.
神是有能力的，
Nothing is impossible with God.
在他没有难成的
He can
事，
do everything.
他每一件事都
And
能
we
做。
stand on that truth.
当我们站在这个真理上面
So
的时候
you
呢，
know that the reason you're not receiving your promises is not because God can't do it.
所以你知道你的应许还没有成就，并不是因为神没办法做。
When He promises you something,
当他已经答应你了，
He can do it.
他就是可以
Because
做得
nothing
到，
is impossible with Him.
因为在他没有难成的
It's
事。
His promises to us.
为什么好像神有时候没有信守他的
What's the
应许？
problem?
问题在哪里？
I want to talk real briefly about four possible reasons
有
that you
四
may not be receiving God's promises.
有4个可能的原因。
The first one,
第一个
maybe what we thought was a promise from God wasn't really a promise from God.
就是这个我们认为是神的应许，但是其实不是神的应许，
That can happen.
这个是有可能的。
We can hear wrong.
因为有时候我们可能会听错哦，
We think it was God.
我们认为是神来的，
And we need to be humble enough to understand sometimes it's not God.
但是我们要谦卑的时候会说，这有可能不是真的不是从
And
神
we
来
need to
的。
be especially careful with the promises of God.
那我们对神的应许要特别的小心。
If somebody comes up to you after the service
如果有人聚完会来对你发先知性预
and
言，
they give you a prophecy,
给你一个预言，
and in that prophecy there's a promise for you,
在那个预言里面，先知话语里面是一
And
个
you
神的
get-
应许，
and you get so excited
然后你就很兴
and
奋，
say, "This is a promise from God,"
这个是从神
and
来
you
的
put
应
it in
许，
your pocket,
就把它收
and
起
you say,
来。
"I'm going to trust God for this promise."
所以我们相信神会成就这个应
And,
许，
and especially if it's like from a leader or something.
就特别是这个先知性话语是从
So-
领袖来的，
So like it's from Debbie back there,
可能是像慧涵来的，
godly Debbie.
属神的
She gave
慧
me
涵，
this prophecy.
是他给我这个先知性
So
的话
it
语，
must be from God.
所以一定是神来的，
It probably is.
有可能是神来的。
For a promise from God, you really need to get some confirmation.
但是因为如果是神的应许，你可以来再 check 一次，
He'll love to give you confirmation.
因为神喜欢
Because
再给你确
he
认，
knows that you need to know it's from Him.
因为这样你可以很确信这个是真的是从神而
And
来
so
的。
now you ask God, God, give me confirmation on this.
所以这时候你可以问神说：“神啊，你给我一个确信好吗
And if it's from Him, He will give you confirmation.？”
如果这真的是从神而来的，神会给你一个确信。
You will hear this promise come to you 2 or 3 or 4 different times.
所以你可能会听到这个先知性话语，从2、3个不同的地方来。
So if you're hearing something and you realize it may not be from God,
所以有的时候，可能你第一次听到的那个，可能不一定是从神来的，
and maybe you claim that as a promise.
但是你可能就想说啊，那个就是神的
But
应许。
that could also be why you haven't received the promise.
所以这个有可能是你的应许还没有成就的原因，
You heard wrong.
因为可能听错了。
The second reason
第二
that
个，
maybe we don't receive the promises God gives us.
还没有领受应许，
Maybe we haven't been walking in the kind of faith that receives God's promises.
所以我们信心的程度还不足以让我们能够承受那个应许。
We talked about this last time.
2个礼拜前有谈
How do
过
we，receive God's promises?
我们是怎么样子来承受神的应许？
How do we receive God's promises?
我们是怎么样承受神的应
You
许？
heard me say this 20
已
times.
经20次了，记得吗？我说了20次，
By faith,
借着信心，
by faith,
借着信心，
by faith.
借着信心。
You haven't received God's promises.
你还没有领受到神的应许，
You need to examine your faith.
你可以先来检视一下你的信心。
Could be you're not walking in the kind of faith that receives God's promises.
可是有可能你信心的程度还没有足以到可以领受那个应许。
Don't be embarrassed.
没有关系，
We're all growing in this.
我们都在成长。
Jesus told his disciples several times.
耶稣跟门徒说过很多次
The， reason you couldn't see this happen was you didn't have enough faith.
有些事你看不到他成就，是因为你们信心不
He
足。
wasn't scolding his disciples.
他不是在骂门徒，
He's saying, you're going to grow in this.
他只是跟门徒鼓励
There's
说，
a
你的信
different
心要
level
成
of
长，
there's a different level of faith you need to have.
因为信心的程度会成长，会不一样。
You need to grow in your faith.
你需要在信心里
The
有成
faith,
长，
the faith that God is faithful,
你要相信神是应许的，
That he-
信实的，
that nothing is impossible with him,
在神是真的没有难成的
and that
事。
you're a beloved child who is worthy to receive his promises.
你也是蒙爱的儿女，会领受这个应许。
That kind of faith pulls in the promises of God.
这样子的信心可以把我们带进神的应许里面。
The third reason why we sometimes don't receive God's promises
第三个原因
is maybe we haven't kept the other conditions, any other conditions that God expects us to do as part of this partnership we have with him.
就是我们可能忘了神是期待我们与他同工，我们还没有做到我们应该做的那个部分。
We also talked about this last time.
2个礼拜前我们也谈到
There
这
are
个，
many promises that God gives us that have conditions to them.
很多神的应许都是有条件的，
Of course, there's faith as a condition. That's on every promise.
但是信心就是每一个应许的条件。
Sometimes there are special conditions we have to do.
但是有其他的应许，有其他的条件。
God says, if you do this, then I promise I will do this.
这应许有的可能就是神说，你如果做这个，我就会做这个。
So if you're not receiving God's promises,
所以如果你的应许可能还没有成就，
you need to go see if you're doing your part.
你可能要先去回去看看这里你做了没。
It's very easy to say, am I doing what God wants me to do here?
很简单的去检视看我们前面这种我们自己的做了没。
Remember, we can't just sit back and say, hey, give me your promises.
所以记得我们不是坐在那里什么都不做，
You're a God of grace.
你是一个恩慈的神，
I am just going to rest and receive what you've promised
我
me.
要安息在你的应许里面。
God doesn't call us to that.
神并没有呼召我们这
He
样
has
做，
something much, much better than that.
他要为我们预备的是比这
He
更
calls
好
us
的，
to partnership,
是跟他一起同工
to，partner with Him in receiving His promises.
跟神一起同工来领受这个应许。
Let's make sure we're doing our part.
所以我们要确定我们自己的那一份有做到。
Amen.
好，Amen。
The last one I want to talk about, the reason why maybe we're not receiving God's
第
promise.
四个也最后一个，
Maybe it's not yet time for our promise to be fulfilled.
有可能我们的时间还没有到，
Maybe the promise is on its way to us, but it just hasn't arrived yet.
应许在路上，但是还没有到达，
And so we're still in a season of waiting to receive His promises.
所以我们还是在一个等候的季节里面，等候我们的应许成
This
就。
is a big one.
这个是一个很大，
And all of us are walking in this. If you have a promise, I guarantee you, you're walking in this right now.
那我们可能我们很多人都是在这个等候的季节里
Because
面。
this is the time before you receive the promise.
这个就是你马上要领受应许之前，
We call this the waiting season.
我们称作这个等候的季节，
Maybe it's 2 days.
可能是2天，
Maybe it's 2 weeks.
可能是2个礼拜，
Maybe it's 2 years.
可能是2年，
But it's a season of waiting for Him.
但是是一个等候
And
的季
guys,
节。
this is what I want to talk about today.
这是我今天要所谈的。
All the rest that I've talked about so far, that's free.
其他早上刚刚讲的都是免费的，
That's extra.
这是免费赠送。
You see, you could have been out going to the bathroom or something else. We're going to start the sermon right now.
你刚刚去上厕所没关系，现在我们才要开始今天
But
的信息。
it's too late now. No going to the bathroom now. It's too late.
现在要开始，所以不要去厕所了。
This is what I want to talk about
好，
today.
这是我今天要谈的
This waiting season
等
for
候
our
的季节
promises.，
等候我们的应许。
Because I believe that many of us are in these waiting seasons.
因为我相信我们当中有许多人正在处于等候的季节，
We don't even know it.
然后我们自己也不自
And
知，
we don't understand that it is God's will that we go through a waiting season.
我们也不明白，我们需要经过这个等候的季节才能领
And
受应许。
we don't understand that it is so much part of God's plan and process for us in receiving His promises for our
我
lives.
们也不明白说，等候也是神的计划的一部分。
So we're in a season of maybe waiting to get healed.
所以我们可能是在一个等候的医治的应许来
God
到，
has promised us healing,
神有应许我们要得医治，
and now we're waiting for that.
但是我们现在等，
Or maybe we're waiting for God's promise to us. He gave us a promise that we would get a promotion in leadership,
或者神有应许我们要的升官，
and we haven't received it yet.
但是我们还没有升官，
So we're waiting.
所以我们还在等。
Maybe we're in a waiting season to find that husband or the wife that God has for you.
所以有可能我们在神的应许，我们有一个配偶，
This is a tough season to wait in.
但是很难等，等得很辛苦。
But that's what we're in right now. Some of you are in that kind of season.
但是有些人可能就是在这个等候的季节。
What does it mean for us to wait for God's promises?
对我们也等候神的应许是什么意思？
What should this waiting season look like in our lives?
在这个等候的季节看起来应该是怎么样
And
子？
how do we successfully walk through this season so that we can be sure to receive everything that God's promised us?
我们如何能够成功的走过这个等候的季节，然后确信可以领受神已经赐下的应许？
This is what I want to talk about this morning.
这是我早上要谈
I want
的。
to make sure we understand the beauty of the waiting season in our life.
我们希望大家可以看到这个等候的美丽。
Listen, Abraham and Sarah are the greatest examples I think we have in the Bible of waiting.
圣经里面最佳的榜样就是亚伯拉罕跟撒拉，
You know the story.
你都读过这些故事。
God promised this couple that their descendants would be like the stars in the sky.
神应许亚伯拉罕跟撒拉要的后子孙要跟天上的星一样多。
God promised them that they would be a father and a mother of many nations.
神应许他们要成为多国的父跟多国的母，
But they had a problem.
但是有一个小
They
问
had a
题，
big challenge.
有一个很大的挑
They
战，
had no children.
他们连一个小孩都没
That's a
有，
big challenge.
这是一个很大的挑战。
Because if you don't even have one child, you can never receive the bigger promise.
因为如果连第一个小孩都没有，你后面怎么可能会成就？
And so they got this promise.
所以他们-
Abraham and Sarah got this promise.
所以亚伯拉罕撒拉得到这个应许，
And they began to wait for it
然后就开始等
and wait
等，
and wait.
然后等
They went through 25 years of waiting for this promise.
等，就等了25年。
I want you to understand, God could have fulfilled the promise immediately.
你们要知道，神是可以马上让这个应许就一下就成就的，
It's God who chose not to do that.
是神选择现
I
在
just
还不要成
want
就
you to。think about that for a
请
second.
请大家想一下，
And we're not talking a few months or a few years.
我们不是只是谈到几个月或
We're
几个
talking
礼拜，
about 25 years.
我们谈的是25年，
And it gets worse.
而且更糟的
Because
是，
during that time of waiting,
在那个等候的时间，
they're not getting younger and younger.
他们没有变得越来越年
They're
轻，
not getting stronger and stronger.
他们也没有变得越来越
Their
健康，
situation is getting worse.
他们的健康是越来越
I
糟。
mean, 25 years earlier, it would have been a miracle, but now there's just no way they can have a baby.
25年前如果生小孩，那真的是神迹，但是现在根本是不可能的事了。
Romans 4 says that because Abraham was 100 years old, his body was as good as dead.
罗马书4章19节说，亚伯拉罕近100岁的时候，圣经形容他的身体如同已死。
I like that. As good as dead.
我很喜欢这个身体如同已
And
死，
then it says very clearly,
圣经写的非
it
常
says,
清楚。
and Sarah's womb was dead.
然后撒拉的生育已经断绝，
It's not almost dead, it's dead.
不是几乎已死，是
Think about-
不是几乎断绝，是已经断绝，
Dead womb. Dead womb.
一个不能生育的子宫，
There's no way. No way she can have a baby.
不可能有小孩。
The situation is getting worse during this waiting period.
在等候的季节中，这个情况变得是更糟。
And we see how Abraham and Sarah responded.
那我们也可以看得到亚伯拉罕跟撒拉是怎么
It
去回
says
应
there
的。
they did not waver in unbelief,
圣经说他们的信心还是不软弱，
and they received what God had promised.
他们心里相信神所应许的必能成就。
The Bible is really clear
圣经写得很清楚，
that we are all called to patiently wait if we want to obtain God's promises for our lives.
我们要获得所应许的，我们就要耐心等候。
We see this in Hebrews 6:11 to 15.
我们可以从希伯来书6章11到15节可以看得到。
Let's read this.
那我们一起来念，1、2、3，请。我们深愿你们个人都表现同样的热忱，一直到底，使你们的盼望可以完全实现，并且不要懒惰，却要效法那些凭着信心和忍耐承受应许的人。神应许亚伯拉罕的时候，因为没有比自己更大的可以指着起誓，他就指着自己起誓说，我必定赐福给你，必定使你的后裔繁多。这样亚伯拉罕耐心等候，终于获得了所应许的。
I love these verses.
我很爱这个经节。
It says that we are called by God to be imitators of people like Abraham.
我们就是被呼召跟亚伯拉罕一样，成为一样的人。
We need to imitate these people
我们需要效他们效法，
because they inherited God's promises through faith and patience.
因为他们是凭着信心跟忍耐承受应许的。
Debbie, if you could put that up there.
下一页，
Through faith and patience.
凭着信心和忍耐。
And it reveals here also that the reason that Abraham obtained God's promise,
所以这里告诉我们是答案是怎么样子得到这个应许，
it was because he patiently waited.
是因为15节那里说的耐心等候。
How important is the waiting season?
所以这个等候的季节是多么
This is
重
the
要。
reason he got his promise.
这就是亚伯拉罕怎么样子得到他的
We
应
also
许。
know it's by faith.
我们知道是借着信心，
So we already know that the waiting season is full of faith.
我们所以我们知道说等候的季节里面是满有的信
But
心，
waiting was necessary.
等候也是必须的。
Waiting in faith was necessary for him to receive this promise.
凭着信心耐心等候就可以得到应许。
How many of you guys like to wait?
有多少人喜欢等？
Nobody?
有没有吗？
Of course not. We hate waiting.
当然了，没有人喜欢
You know,
等。
a couple of you like waiting, all right.
哦，真的有人喜欢等，
But most of us, we hate waiting.
所以大部分人都不喜欢等。
We want things right now. We want instant results.
我们希望现在就发生，现在就可以
Guys,
看得到结果。
this is also true of God's promises.
这个对神的应许来讲也有一样的意
We
思。
think about God's promises the same way.
我们也是这样子看，
Oh, good, oh, good, oh, good. God promised me this.
好棒哦！神应许我这
I'm
个，
so excited about
我
this.
好兴奋，
This will change my life.
会改变我的生
I'm going to
活
be，a world changer now.
我会对世界有影响力
I，got his promise.
所以我就得这个应许了。
I want it now.
现在就
I
要，
want it now.
我现在就要，
Tomorrow?
明天
I don't know.
不要，
Next week?
下个礼拜
Can I have it now?
我可以现在就有
I want it
吗
now？
我现在就想要。
Next year?
明年
10 years?
10年之后，
I want it now.
我现在就要。
And we have that in our hearts.
我们可能心里面这样子呼喊，
We want God's promises right
我
now.
们希望神的应许现在就成就，
And often it's because we have the need right now.
因为通常我们的需要就是现在。
And it gets hard because we see other people receiving the same promises right now.
那当我们看到别人相同的应许已经成就，或是更糟，
So we say, God, they're getting it now. I want it now.
你说对神说，神啊，他们都有了，为什么我不行？
But God often calls us to wait.
但神也呼召我们要来等，
We don't get instant results.
不是马上可以得到结果。
Why not?
为什么？
Because God wants to use the waiting season to grow us in special ways.
因为神要用这个等候的季节来帮我们成
He
长，
wants us to grow and give us special kinds of fruit.
要让我们结出一个特别的果子。
And this kind of fruit can only come through a season of waiting.
那这个果子是只能够透过等候才能够结出来
Like
的，
higher levels of patience,
像是更多的耐心、
higher levels of courage,
更多的勇气、
higher levels of faith,
更多的信
and
心，
many other things can only grow through seasons of waiting.
还有那些必须要经过等候才能够结出的果子。
Waiting in faith for God's promises, it builds spiritual muscles in our lives.
在等候可以帮助我们成长我们生命中属灵的肌肉。
When we are waiting for the promise,
当我们在等候这个应许的时候，
and it looks like it's not going to happen,
那你看起来现在好像不
we're
会马
called
上
to
成
wait in
就，
faith.
我们就是要耐心的
When
开
it
始等
looks
候
like our
信心。
situation is getting worse,
然后等这个状况变得更糟的
we're
时候
called，to wait in faith.
我们是被呼召要有信心的等
And
候。
every time we access faith, every time we use faith in that circumstance,
每次当我们在信心里面的祷告的时候，
every time we think, God, I haven't gotten the promise yet,
每次我们跟神说：“神啊，我还没有拿到这个应许，
but
但是
I know you are good.
我知道你是良善的。”
We're exercising right there.
就开始运动。
And I know that you are faithful.
我说：“神啊，你是信实的。
We're building muscle. ”
我们就开始锻炼这个属灵的肌肉。
I know that you love me.
我知道你爱我，
I know you have amazing things for me.
我知道你对我有奇妙的计划，
I know that you will not leave me.
我知道你不会离弃我，
I know that you will not forsake me.
我知道你不会丢弃我。
God uses our waiting seasons for this kind of exercise.
所以神就是用我们这个等候的季节来帮助我们做属灵的
building
操练，
He's building spiritual muscle. in
帮我们
us.
建造属灵的肌肉。
Why does he do that?
为什么神要这样做？
Because you need more muscle.
因为你会需要这些肌肉。
I'm sorry.
不好意思，
You need more muscle.
你需要更多的肌肉。
How do I know that?
我怎么知道呢？
Because God has much, much, much bigger things for your life.
因为神为你预备的那个计划是你需要那些肌肉才可以
And He
做得到
looks。at you right now
他现在看着你，
and He says, I love where you are.
我现在你很棒，现在这
But
个
you
很不错
don't，have enough muscle to do what I want you to do.
但是你的现在的肌肉还没有办法去做到我将
So
来为
let's
你预备
start
的。
exercising.
好，现在开始来练
Here's a
运动。
season of waiting in your life.
啊，这个就是等候的季节。
If you go through this in faith,
如果你在这个用信心来走
in
过，
patience,
用耐心走过，
you're going to build muscle.
你的属灵的肌肉就会
And
成长。
someday, these muscles will be so strong you'll be able to do what I want you to do.
你的属灵的肌肉就可以操练到一个地步，你可以领受那个更大的应许。
You guys understand?
明白了吗？
This is huge for us.
这对我们来讲很重
There
要
is。purpose for the waiting.
等候是有原因的，
It's God's purpose.
是神的
And it's a
目的，
fantastic purpose.
是一个很棒的目的。
We can embrace the season of waiting.
我们就必须要拥抱这个
So-
等候的季节。
So, what should this season of waiting look like?
那这个等候的季节看起来是怎么样子
What？do you do in the season of waiting?
你在这个季节是要做什
Listen,
么？
I'm going to just mention a few things.
我就要提到几件事，
Write fast,
赶快写下这个
right?
笔
Because
记。
I'm not going to talk about these things a lot.
我们不会讲很
I'm
多时间。
trying to give you a picture
我希望给你一个图画，
of what it might look like.
就是等候的季节看起
Because
来
I'll
是怎么
tell
样子。
you, sometimes we don't understand what it looks like.
因为有时候我们看到的时候，我们不明白我们
We
是在等
just
候
think，that waiting is waiting.
我们就是觉得只是在等而已，
We don't do anything.
什么都不用做啊。
Okay, I'm in a season of waiting.
好，我是在等候的
So I'll
季节，
just wait.
我就是等，
That's not what we're called to do.
这不是神呼召我们要
We're
做的，
called to wait in faith.
我们是被呼召要有信心
And
的等。
faith requires that we do things.
信心需要有行动的。
It first requires that when God tells you to do something, you do it.
第一个就是，如果神有引导你做什么事情，你就要去
During
做。
during your season of waiting, He's going to be giving you instructions.
在你等候的季节，神会给你引导，
And you just need to be faithful to do those
你
things.
就是要很信实的去做。
You need to, during your season of waiting, you need to begin to value God's promises.
在这个等候的季节，你也要继续来看重这个神的应许。
Many of us, we don't know how valuable these promises are.
有时候我们并不是真的很明白这个神的应许是多
We,
么的宝
we
贵，
don't even think about them that much.
有时候甚至可能都忘记了。
And that's why I'm trying to get us to think about what promises God has given to you.
所以你要在这个期间要继续回想这个神的应许是
Because
什么，
every promise of God is gold.
因为每一个神的应许都是黄金，
They're amazing.
他们是很奇妙
They
的，
will take you places you've never imagined.
他会带你到你没有办法想
They're
象的
going
地
to
方，
lead you into your destiny.
他会带你进入你的命
And
定。
during the season of waiting, we need to be able to look at those promises.
在这个等候的境界，我们是
And
就要
we
这样子
need-
来看应
We
许，
need to be able to say, wow.
那我们就可以说哇
Wow, wow, wow.
哇哇
Wow,
哇
wow, wow, wow.
哇
wow.
哇哇哇
What an
哇！
amazing promise.
神这个神的应许真是太棒
We
了。
need to do that during our season of
我们
waiting.
在等候的季节要这样子来
We
做
need,。we need to thank God. During our season of waiting, we need to thank Him for the season of waiting.
我们在等候的季节要感谢神，我们可以经历这个等候。
We need to thank Him because we know He's building something in us.
我们要感谢他，因为我们知道他正在我们建立我们属灵的肌肉。
We don't like it.
我们不喜欢运动，
I hate exercise.
我不喜欢运动
I，don't like going to the gym and doing this.
我不喜欢去
I
练肌
just
肉，
don't like that.
我不喜欢。
But there's a purpose for it.
但是是有目的的，
God's giving us, He's building something amazing in us.
他因为在我们生命当中要建立奇妙的事情，
Sometimes it's not easy.
有时候不是很不是那么简单。
We need to thank Him for that
我们要为此来感谢神
because，He has a purpose for this.
因为他是有目的的。
We need to worship Him during our waiting season.
在等候的时候，我们要来继续来敬
We
拜
need
他
to。use the promises of God and worship Him by focusing on these promises.
我们就是在敬拜的时候，专注在神的应许上面，用这个应许来敬拜神，
That will build amazing things in your heart.
在你的心里面就会建立很奇
And
妙的事。
we do all of these things with the faith and the hope and the confident expectation that God will give us what He's promised to give us.
就是要借着信心、盼望、满心期待神会成就他给你的应许。
Everything we do in that season needs to be filled with that kind of attitude,
就是在这个等候的季节，就是要带着这样子的态度，
that we believe He is going to do what He promised He would do.
我们满心期待神要成就他给我们的应许。
There's one more little thing
还有一件，
that I want to add to what is in the waiting season.
这个在等候的季节要做的事，
You might know the answer to this,
你可能已经知道答
but
案，
it's a little bit different.
但是有一点点不一样。
When you're in the waiting season,
当你在等候的季节，
You need to pray.
你需要祷告。
Now, I used to struggle with this
之前我也有挣扎过，
because my thinking was
因为我的想法是，
God's promised to give that to you,
神已经应许要给我这个，
so you don't need to pray for it
所以
anymore.
就不用祷告了。
I prayed before that,
我之前是有祷
but now
告，
God says, I'm giving it to you.
然后神就说他要给我了，
So now I don't have to pray.
所以我就不用祷告
In
了。
fact, my thinking was,
那实际上我的想法
if
是，
I pray for this, I'm actually maybe showing a little bit of doubt in God's promise.
如果这时候我还继续祷告，我是不是对神有疑惑
It's
呢？
like I'm not really believing him that his promise was true.
我继续祷告，岂不是代表说我不相信神会成就他的应许吗？
Thank you for the promise, God.
神啊，感谢你给我的应许，
Please give it to me.
请给我，
Please give that to me.
请把应许给我。
It just sounded a little bit like doubt to me.
就有时候就觉得这可能是有怀疑啊，
But the truth is,
但是事实是，
God has called us into a partnership.
神是要呼召我们与他同工的。
The best example we have is when the children of Israel were getting ready to go into the promised land.
圣经最好的例子就是这个以色列百姓要进去应许之地，
God promised these people that land.
神已经给以色列百姓那个地当做他们的产业
It's the
了。
land he promised to give to Abraham
这是他答应亚伯拉罕的，
and to all of Abraham's descendants.
还有所有亚伯拉罕的子孙
I
的。
promise you, I'll give you that land.
神说：“我答应你，这个地就是要给你的。
So they go into the ” land
所以他们就进去那块
and they
地，
put up their tents
然后就搭了帐篷，
and they wait
然后就等，
and they wait
然后就等，
and they wait.
然后就等，
Is that what happens?
是这样子吗？
What did they do?
那他们做了什么事情呢？
They fought for the land.
他们要征战，
They were called by God to fight for what God already promised them.
所以他们是被呼召神，但是他们还是被神呼召得那个地，但是他们要继续征战。
You understand that?
你明白吗？
It's a part of the partnership that God wants with us.
这就是神要我们与他的同工，
It's the same with us.
这跟我们的应许是
When
一样
God
的。
gives us promises,
我们不是只有得到应
He
许，
calls us to partner with Him in that.
他是呼召我们要一起同工
And
来。
sometimes that means fighting for it.
有的时候就代表说可能要有一些征战，
Even though He already promised it to us.
即便是他已经应许我
Even
们
though
了，
the fulfillment of that promise is already on the way.
有可能的应许已经在路上了
He，says, I want you to be involved in this.
但是神说我还是要你继
I want
续
you to
跟我同
fight
工，
for it.
我希望你继续为这个
And
征
how
战
do。we fight?
但我们是怎么样来征战？
Prayer.
就是祷告。
So that should be part of your waiting season.
所以在你的等候的季节的时候，
You
你也
need,
是要
you
祷
need
告
to。stand in the authority God has given you. You need to pray that thing into being.
你要站在神所给你的这个应许上面，你要继续来祷告。
Amen?
阿门。
Okay. I'm finished preaching now.
好，我的讲道结束了，
I got a couple stories to tell you.
然后要跟你分享一下我的
I want to give us a
故事。
picture of what God has for us in this waiting period.
就是要给你们勾画一下这个等候
And
的
I'm
季
going
节。
to use an example that I'm familiar with.
我要用一个我比较熟悉的
You
例
know,
子。
the area that I have the most experience in waiting for God's promise is the area of healing.
在这个等候的季节，我最大的经验就是等候神医治。
Let me stop and say this.
那先等一
I
下，
know most of you know this.
我知道你们很多人都知道，
God gives us a promise of healing.
神是给我们得医治的应许，
He promises to heal you of all your diseases.
他答应我们要医治我们一切的疾病。
It is God's will for you to be healed.
神是要我们都得着医治。
If you haven't heard that before,
如果你之前没有听过，
then you might be struggling a little bit with
你可
that.
能会有点挣扎，
So I encourage you, go buy my book.
所以我要鼓励你去买我的书。
And I talk about this a lot in the book.
在我那本书里面提
I,
到很
I
多，
show you how it is God's will for you to be healed.
我清楚的跟你们讲说，为什么神的旨意就是要我们都得着医
It
治，
is God's will for you to be healed.
神的旨意就是要我们都能够得着医
And
治，
that makes it a promise.
所以这就是他的应许了。
It's God's promise for us.
神得着医治就是神的应许，
Because of what Jesus accomplished on the cross.
因为是耶稣在十字架上所成
He
就的，
promises that we will be healed.
所以他应许我们都能够得医
Now,
治。
there are a couple of reasons I want to talk about this promise.
有几个原因是为什么要谈这
I
个？
told you, first of all, that's where my experience is.
因为第一个就是我
mostly.
自己的经验，
But also, I'm pretty sure a lot of you are are in a waiting period for healing for your life right now.
我相信我们当中有很多人也是在处于这个等候得医治的季节。
Let me ask you, how many of you are still waiting for a miracle of healing to happen in your life or in the life of somebody, a friend or a family member?
有多少人还在持续的等候着你自己的疾病得医治，或是你的家人，或是你的朋友的疾病得医治？
How many of you are still waiting for that?
还在等的，
Probably everybody.
那可能每个人都有。
Right? Because you have someone in your, if it's not you,
如果不是你本人，
it's somebody else in your life.
有可能是你生命当中的每
And
一
you're
个某一
praying
个
for
人，
them.
那你就为他们祷告。
And listen, I love it when you get instantly healed.
我真的很希望他们马上可以得到医治，我也很开心。
But it doesn't always happen.
可是不是每次都是这样，
Sometimes there's seasons of waiting for that healing.
所以有的时候那个医治是有一个等候的季节。
So I'm guessing that a lot of you are in this season of waiting for someone to get healed, maybe even yourself.
所以我相信我们当中有很多人也是处于这个等候的季节。
You guys remember the man named Smith Wigglesworth?
你们都还记得这个史密斯维格尔沃斯？
Who gave him that name? That's just terrible. Let's get a 3-character name for Smith Wigglesworth, okay? Oh, it's
为什么
terrible.
为什么这个翻译这么长呢？
Yeah, it's terrible. So he was this amazing healing evangelist.
他是一个非常非常奇
Maybe-
妙的医治布道家，
Maybe the most powerful one I've heard. Outside of the Bible, he's maybe one of the most powerful men of healing I've ever read about.
可能是在我读过之后，圣经之外的最有能力的医治布道家。
He lived about 100 years ago.
大概100年以前，
He was a plumber,
他是那个水电工，
and God touched him.
然后神就触摸到
And
他
he，walked in power.
他就有大能，
He walked in anointing.
有很多的恩
He
膏，
walked in authority.
有很多的权柄。
When he prayed for the sick, so he healed so many diseases.
然后他为病人祷告，病人就得医治。
God used him to raise people from the dead.
神利用他来让死人
And
复
he
活
was。such a man of faith.
他是一个信心的伟人
If I。use one word to describe him, it's the word faith.
如果你用一个字来形容这个人，就是信心。
Now, what many of you don't know
你不晓得的呢，
is that a little bit later in in this guy's life,
当这个史密斯维格尔沃斯的老年的时候，
you do that so well. You get a button for that. Maybe when he was 50, 60 years old,
可能
something
50、
like
60
that,
岁的时候，
he got sick,
他就生病了，
seriously sick.
很严重的
He
病，
had kidney problems.
他有肾结石。
The doctors said, if we don't operate, you're going to die.
医生说你这个病很严重，你如果不马上这个开刀会死。
He said, I'm not going to die,
他说我不会
and
死，
you're not going to operate on me.
你也不要在我身上开
God has
刀，
promised me healing.
因为神有应许我得医治。
Now, this sickness caused tremendous pain.
这个一病有很大的痛苦，
So it said he would stay in his bed all day in pain.
他痛到他要整天躺在床上。
And he would get up at night because he had meetings to go to.
但晚上呢，有这个医治祷告会，他要爬
And
起来
he'd
去
go
参
over
加
to，these meetings and he was still in a lot of pain.
然后他是很带着痛苦去参加祷
But
告。
God would give him the strength to minister healing to all the people in that meeting.
但是神给他足够的力量，让他可以为那些病人祷告，
So he'd be over there 2 or 3 hours.
所以可能就去祷告2、3个小
When he
时，
was finished, he would go home
把它结束就回家，
and he'd crawl back in bed
爬回他的床，
and he'd stay in bed all the way until the next night
然后又再待一整天到隔天的晚
because
上
he，was in such pain.
因为他的很痛，
And the
非常痛。
doctors said, You're going to die.
那医生说你
You're
会
going
死
to die.
你马上就要死了。
He was like that for 6 years.
这个的情况呢，持续了6年，
Did you know that?
你知道吗？
This powerful man of God
这个有大能的医
who
治布道
who
家，
really understood faith.
他对信心是这么的有
And he was
明
in
白的
bed，for 6 years.
但是他也病了6年，
What a waiting season
这个
that was.
这个是特别的等候的季节。
And then one day,
然后有一天，
totally healed.
这样就得医治了。
I like that story.
我很喜欢这个见证，
It makes me feel better.
让我觉得非常的好
I。mean, if this guy
如果
goes
这
through
个
that,
这个信心的伟人都要等6年，
okay. I don't feel guilty if I'm not healed instantly.
所以如果我没有马上得医治，我也没有觉得有
You
罪
know
恶
what I
感，
mean?
你知道吗？
And I understand a little bit of the waiting season.
那我自己也有这个等候得医治的经历。
I've been waiting for healing from incurable cancer for 11 years now.
我已经等这个不能被医治的癌症得医治等了11年。
You guys know the story.
你们都知道。
I mean, I told it to you a couple of weeks ago.
几个礼拜之前有跟你们谈过。
Most of you have lived with me through this story.
很多人都陪我一同经历过这件事。
Not expected to live 3 years.
说你得到的刚发病的时候说只能活3年。
And so when we discovered that I had this cancer.
当我们发现得这个癌症的时候。
And that there was no hope.
一点盼望都没有。
And I'd just been learning about healing.
那我那时候也在开始学习医治。
I'd just been understanding the truths about healing, just beginning to understand this.
刚开始对这医治的真理有开始的了解。
And I was kind of excited.
所以我也很兴奋。
I was going to say, here's my chance.
我说哇，我就可以有机会经历。
God's going to heal me like that.
神就会这样子就医治
我了。
What
a testimony I'll be able to give.
我就会可以跟大家做见证。
I'll be able to share around the world the healing power of God.
我就可以去全世界来宣扬这个神医治的大能。
And I did everything I thought I was supposed to do during those first months.
所以在前3个月的时候，我该做的都做了。
And I was full of this expectation.
我充满了期待。
The next time someone prays for me,
下一次有人为我祷告，
I'm going to get healed.
我就得医治。
And then it kept going.
然后这个3个月就越
My
来越长。
waiting time kept going. It kept getting longer.
我的等候的季节越来越长。
And the bad reports from the doctor kept coming in during that time.
每次去看医生，医生都给我不好的报
So
告。
it seemed like things were getting worse and worse, not better and better.
事情没有变得更好，是变得更
And I
糟。
somehow imagined that all the prayers I was getting from amazing people would make things get better and better.
但是我又觉得说，有人很神奇的为我祷告，我的病应该会更好，
I mean,
好转。
even if I didn't get healed,
就算我没得医治，
I would still see some improvement on this.
应该我会有好转吧。
But that's not what we saw.
但是也不是这样。
Every time we went to the doctor, they gave us more bad news.
每次回诊，医生都给我不好的报告。
And then I'm starting to think, this is not really kind of working like I thought it was going to work.
想说，我就开始想说，这个跟我想的好像不太一
And I
样。
continued to try and do what I thought I was supposed to do.
那我继续做我认为
All
该做的事
all
情。
good things, all things I still recommend.
然后为人请人为我祷告、宣告，我都做了。
I wanted all of those things. I tried to do all of those things.
我继续做我该做的事
And
情。
as most of you know, I did experience a season of healing.
但是你们也知道，我在有一段期间，我是真的有得
There
医
was a
治。
season of 4 years
那有4年的中间，
where my cancer numbers went down.
就是我这个指数是下降，
I was on no medication at all.
都不用吃药，
And it seemed like, hey, you're healed here.
好像说，嘿，我得医治了，
Or at least it's asleep, like deeply, deeply asleep.
或者这个癌症都去睡觉了。
And the doctor says it's not supposed to do that.
然后医生说不
So
会
I
是这样子
knew
的，
there was a miracle that had happened.
所以我想这个是神迹了。
But also, as you know,
但你也知道，
4 or 5 years ago, it came back.
4、5年之前这个癌症又回来了，
And it came back worse,
然后比以前更糟、
more aggressive.
更激烈，
It had moved to different parts of my body.
移转到其他的地
It
方，
moved to my head.
移转到我的脑部，
And it was just a worse kind of cancer.
这是最糟糕的癌症。
And there seemed like there wasn't a whole lot of visible hope with my situation.
看得到的盼望几乎是没有，
A lot of bad reports from the doctor.
医生只有给不好的报告。
Guys, I know you know all these things.
我知道你们都知道这
I'm
些事
trying
情，
to describe the season of waiting.
我是要形容这个等候的季节
Because
是
in
怎
the
么样
middle
子
of。all this, I am waiting in faith for a promise of healing for my life.
因为在这个等候的季节，我都还是继续的相信神会医治。
And I have to say, during this long season,
我必须要说，在这个长时间的等候，
it was not fun.
一点都不好玩，
I tell you that.
是真的。
Hospitals are no fun.
医院不好玩，
Needles are no fun.
打针不好玩。
I'm sorry, I love doctors though.
我很喜
I
欢医
love
生，
doctors.
我
They're
喜
my
欢我
favorite
爱医
people.
生，这是我最爱的人。
But I hate the needles that they hold.
我很不喜欢那个打
And
针
I
的那
hate
个
all
孔，
of the blood, and I hate the
我不喜欢抽
operating
血。
rooms. I hate all that
我
stuff.
都不喜欢那些
It's
医院
not
的这些
fun
事
at
情，
all.
一点都没有去。
But in the midst of all of that not fun time during this 11-year waiting season,
但在这个11年这个等候的一点都没有去的等候季节当
I've
中，
been surprised that this waiting season has been so full of joy
但我很惊讶，就是在我还是充满的喜乐，
and so full of hope.
充满了盼望，
and this confident expectation that keeps growing, not getting less.
这个期待对神的期待，我得到医治是继续成长的，
The expectation that I will be healed keeps getting bigger and bigger.
就是我能够被神得，我跟神可以得神可以医治我，这个盼望是越来越
I
大，
know that God will keep his promise.
因为我知道神会持守他的应许。
Tomorrow morning, I'm going to the doctor again.
明天又要回诊，
It's time to get my report for my blood.
上礼拜抽血，明天看报告，
I've been to so many of these things.
这个做过很多次，
And I'm going to go to tomorrow's meeting.
所以明天我去，
This is what has happened through the 11 years of waiting.
在这11年当中，
I'm at the place, I used to struggle. Well, how should I respond to, how should I prepare myself to go hear the doctor's reports?
我都挣扎着说我要怎么样子准备去听这
Should
个
I,
报告，
what does faith look like in this?
这个信心看起来应该是要
Well,
怎
I
样？
can only tell you where I am now.
我现在告诉你，我现在是怎
After
么样。
11 years,
经过11年的等候，
tomorrow when I go and I sit with the doctor,
如果明天我去到医院，
I am expecting
我会期待
that
着
he's going to look at me
他看着我，
and he's going to say, Greg,
他跟我说 ：“Greg，
I have good news.
我有好消息，
We can't find your cancer.
我们找不到你的
It's gone.
癌症，不见了。
This is what I'm expecting. ”
这是我期待的。
Some of you right now are worried for me
但是有些人开始为我担心了，
because you're thinking, Greg, I love you a lot.
就说你会想说：“Greg， 我真的很爱
But
你。
throughout this 11 years, you have just heard bad report after bad report after bad report.
但这11年，你听的不止一个坏报告了。
And you go in with this expectation that the doctor is going to give you good news
你明
tomorrow.
天去，然后就想说，医生就跟你说好了，
And you're probably going to get bad
可是
news.
可能应该没有这么好吧？
And you're going to get disappointed.
然后你就会失望，
And you're going to get discouraged.
然后你就有这
And，you're going to feel crushed by the bad news.
你就被这个坏消息打击了。
And some of you are thinking, it's just maybe don't get your hopes up that high.
所以你会建议我说，不要把期待设得这么高。
Tomorrow,
明
when
天
I'm sitting with the doctor,
去医院的时候，
if he looks at me
如果医生看着我，
and he says, Greg,
他说 ：“Greg，
I have bad news for
我
you.
有不好的消息，
Your cancer's growing again.
你的癌症又继续在成长。
I tell you one thing,
我会告诉你，
I will not be disappointed
我一点都不会失望，
because I've learned some things in the 11 years.
因为这过去11年我学到一件事，
That's not the right way to say it.
不是这样讲，
I got muscles.
我的肌肉有成长。
I got some muscles during this past 11 years.
在过去11年当中，我的肌肉有成长。
I wish I had been lifting real weights for 11 years. Man, I'd look different up here.
我真希望11年开前，我也真的去这健身房练身，我的就很多肌肉
I look like the Hulk.
就跟那个绿巨人一样。
Yeah, he does this really good. But God has taken me through a waiting season.
但是神带领我，就是经过这个等
And
候
it's
的
a
季节。
season that whenever I get bad news, whenever I'm faced with the opposition here,
当我是受到窘迫、受到不好的报告的时候，
I've learned how to do this.
我就知道要怎么锻炼。
God is good.
我知道神是良善的，
God is faithful.
神是信实的，
God always keeps his
神
promises.
总是信守他的承
He will
诺，
never leave me.
他总不离开我，
He will never forsake
他也
me.
不丢弃我。
He has amazing things for my life.
他对我的生命有美好的
I
计划
will，live, I will not die.
我会活，不至于死。
I am his beloved son.
我是他爱的儿
He's
子，
going to give me more and more and more of his goodness.
他会给我更多他的良善。
And all of these truths in the face of bad reports,
在这个不好的报告里面的信心，
that's when the weight gets a little bit more.
所以这个重量是越来越重呢
The。doctor says, you're in a bad place right now.
意思说你这个状况不好，
There's more weight on this.
重量变重了，
And so, but I still lift it.
但我还是可以提得起来，
God is good.
因为神是良善的，
God is faithful.
神是信实的。
What does that do?
我在做什么？
When you have more weight, what happens?
当你这个重量，这个哑铃的重量
You get stronger.
更重的时候，
You build big
你
muscles.
的肌肉就会更大力。
I didn't plan this.
这不是我的计划呢，
God took me into it.
是神带我经过这段。
I'm not talking about the sickness. God did not give me the sickness.
我不是讲神让我生病，我是说这个过程。
But God says, I'm going to use this sickness And we're going to use this waiting period and we're going to build muscle in you.
但是神说我要用这个你的生病，然后带你经过这个等候的季节，然后
Truth muscle.
让你的真理的肌肉可以
Faith
成长，
muscle.
信心的肌肉成长。
So if I hear bad news tomorrow,
所以明天我听到坏消息
listen,
的话，
maybe I'll have this much disappointment,
对啊，我可能会失望这么一小段时
but
间，
it'll end immediately
但就这样子而已。
because I know something.
因为我知道另外一件事，
That the promise of God is far more powerful than a bad report.
就是神的应许比这个医生的报告还要有能力。
This is the kind of muscle God has built in me in 11 years.
就是在11年的这个等待过程，神所为我建立的属灵的肌肉。
The promise of God is far more powerful than a bad report.
神的应许比这个医生的报告还要有能力。
So I rejoice.
但是所以我喜乐。
If I get a bad report tomorrow,
明天如果报告不好，
I'm full of joy
我还是充满了喜
and I'm
乐，
full of hope.
我还是充满了
I'm
盼望，
full of faith.
我充满了信心。
I'm looking forward to the next muscles that are getting built in me
然后我就会继续来锻炼我属灵的肌肉，
because the promise is coming.
因为是应许就在路上
I
了，
will be healed.
我会得着医治。
That's not even a question for me.
这个也不是个问题。
God is teaching me what faith looks like in this waiting season.
所以神让我在这个等候的季节教导我什么是信心。
Someday, I'm going to receive that promise of healing.
有一天我会得着这个医治的应许，
It might be tomorrow.
有可能就是明天。
If it's tomorrow, you'll hear about it next week.
如果是明天，下礼拜你就会知道了。
Maybe before that.
可能更早一些。
Some of you hear this story. Some of you hear this story I just told.
有些人是才听到这个故事，
And you think,
然后你想说
well, that's Greg. He's a pastor.
啊，这个事只是 Greg，因为他是
You know,
牧师
I
啊，
can't respond like
我
that.
没有办法像他
I
这样
can't，do that.
我没有这个肌肉。
You know why you can't respond like that?
你知道为什么你没有办法像我一样有这样子的回应吗？
You got weak muscles.
因为你的肌肉还很小粒啦。
I'm sorry.
不好意思，
Yeah, listen, I used to have weak muscles.
但是我的肌肉以前也是很小
I
一
used to have
粒，
really weak muscles, faith muscles.
真的几乎是没有什么肌肉了。
And then I had a waiting season.
然后我就开始等候了。
God's going to give you strong faith muscles.
神会帮你建立你的
You
属
need to
灵的肌
respond
肉，
with the truth.
你就是以真理来回应
You
神，
need to respond with who God is.
你就是用对神的认识来回
No
应。
matter what kind of bad reports you got.
不管你得到什么样
No
子的坏
matter
的
how
报告，
long it's taking for the healing.
不管这个医治是等多
You
久，
respond by speaking out the truth.
你就是用神的真理来宣告。
You're a powerful people.
你们都是有能力的，
And you're becoming more powerful.
你们会更有能力，
And his promises are going to make you more
因
powerful.
为他的应许会让你更有能
And
力。
you're waiting for his promises is going to make you more powerful.
你等候的季节会让你更有能力。
I encourage you, you're waiting for promises right now.
如果你现在在等候这个应许
It
成
could
就，
be a promise of healing, it could be for something else.
可能是医治的应许，可能是其他的应许。
Walk through that season of waiting full of faith and hope and joy and patience.
带着信心、盼望、喜乐、耐心，
And have this confident expectation
满心期待这个神会给
that
你
you will receive what God has promised.
他所答应你要给你的应许。
God has amazing things for you.
神对你都有一个美好的计
I
划
love。this church.
我很爱你
I
们，
love you guys.
我爱这个教会，
I love what God is doing in you.
我很爱神在你们身
I
上做的每件
love,
事。
I love that you're grabbing hold of the promises of God.
我很兴奋，你们正在抓住神的应许。
I love the destiny that He has for you. And I love the destiny God has for all of us as a church.
为神所给我们每一个人跟给我们教会的应许感到兴奋。
We're going through this together.
我们一起来锻炼属灵的肌肉，
We are going through this together.
我们一起来锻炼，
We're becoming stronger.
然后会变得更强壮。